Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome to our first Premier League DraftKings DFS slate breakdown of the 25-26 season. Good to be back in the swing of things. Of course, we were still doing plenty of stuff in the FSI Discord, which can be accessed through the website linked below, where we covered some of these summer slates, where we had Women's Euros, Club World Cup, Gold Cup. It was a ton of fun, but nonetheless, it is good to get back into the kind of video making mindset and um, process. So let's get right into it here. For those new to these videos, we will go through these projected lineups here, talk about what the likely set pieces are, which is going to be big coming into a new season with a bunch of teams signing new players, changing their set piece routines. So yeah, make sure to pay attention to that. And then we will go through some anytime goal contribution odds, and then finally closing off with going through prices and a core. So yeah, that's all. And let's get right into it. Brighton and Fulham. I expect Brighton to just be Matt O'Reilly and Ayari. Not a ton of new signs here other than Maxime de Kuiper. And he did take a bunch of set pieces for his old team, Club Bruges, but Matt O'Reilly is like the main set piece guy for this team. Like he should take, and they love doing a righty lefty split, which means Ayari usually splits with O'Reilly. Yeah, but there is an outside chance that we get just some mixing up of set pieces. Maybe they do one game of Minte or De Kuiper, maybe they do one game of O'Reilly. Like I said, O'Reilly's kind of the most likely here, and it should be either splitting with him. And then for Fulham, I think he'll probably be Harry Wilson and Lukic. There's a chance that one of these guys ends up having a slightly larger share of the other. Like maybe you see a Lukic monopoly one game, maybe you see a Wilson monopoly one game. But those two are kind of your main guys in this projected lineup. However, we could see like an Andres Pereira. He's kind of been on the outside looking in for kind of a good while now. Like I'm shocked he didn't leave after the end of last season, or he kind of was basically a rotation player. A lot of times he would get subbed at 60 or just not start. So I understand why he's not in projected here, but he does have set pieces when he's in. So that is something to watch out for lineups in a few days when the slate starts. And then for Sunderland, West Ham, let me go through the odds too, of course. I forgot to mention that. For Brighton, they're minus odds against Fulham. And Sunderland, West Ham. Sunderland are slight favorites away to Sunderland. West Ham, excuse me if I didn't say that, are slight favorites away to Sunderland. And for set pieces for Sunderland, it should be Enzo Lafie mostly. Shaka might split. He's been taking a few corners in preseason. For West Ham, it should be James Ward-Prowse monopoly. They do have this new signing in, what's his full name? God, there's so El Hadji Malik Diouf. He's a super entertaining player. I loved him in Sparta Prague. I think he was at crosses a ton, super attacking. He's going to be a guy to watch out for. Just even from like an IRL perspective, he's a super fun left back to watch and gets a ton of crosses, which leads to a ton of DFS points as well. Oh, another guy who might take something, if Lafie is not in, I wouldn't be surprised if he saw some Trey Humes sets. He took a little bit in the championship. And if they have like a lineup where it's like maybe, I don't know, a different winger starting here that's not Lafie, it'll probably be Shaka and Hume splitting, I will say. Tottenham and Burnley. Tottenham been a Kudus and a Porro split. I was watching the Super Cup today between PSG and Tottenham. Today as I'm recording this. And yeah, it was weird to see Kudus on set pieces, and that's super exciting. He's a super good player just for DFS. Gets a ton of shots, key passes, crosses, and that's been from open play. If we add set pieces on top of his game now, onto like a bigger team than West Ham, a team that don't keep a ton of possession, like he could be like kind of your DFS breakout player of the season, just because he's already just solid in general. But now with like just in a better spot, he could be really entertaining here. We'll talk about him a little bit more when we get into pricing. For Burnley, if you were watching him last season, you'd assume it'd be Jaden Anthony and Marcus Edwards splitting, maybe a Jaden Anthony monopoly, maybe Medjbri taking a couple here and there. However, this is from if you've been watching preseason a little bit, which I haven't been scouring highlights and trying to find pirated replays of games. That's how much I want it for you guys. Set pieces have been Josh Cullen and Quentin Hartman splitting. You've heard that from me here first. So just know that I try to get the info out to you guys, and that's a kind of digging that you're missing out by not joining the FSI Discord, where I do that kind of stuff for every slate, whether that be Interleague or Bundesliga and La Liga, just the stuff that I don't have kind of the time to do videos for in smaller slates. So yeah, Hartman and Cohen, watch out for those two splitting. Everyone's going to assume it's going to be Anthony and Edwards. I could see them getting a decent amount of ownership when we see how cheap they are, but I'm not sure they take anything here. Now let's go into some goal contribution odds, starting with Tottenham and Burnley. Tottenham, obviously huge favorites here, minus 300, I forgot to say, minus 278 right now. So you got some really nice odds here for Tottenham across the board. Richarlison, Solanke, Kudus, Brennan Johnson, all minus odds to get a goal contribution. And a bunch of guys like plus 100, plus 195, like Porro, Odebear. So yeah, like it's obviously a really good goal contribution spot for Tottenham. Then we got Sunderland, West Ham. No one with minus odds here in this game, but Jared Bowen plus 120, Fulkrug plus 115. There's not terrible odds at all. And definitely can see some interesting plays here, especially considering some of these value guys on Sunderland, even some West Ham guys, like Ward-Prowse, like Enzo Laffi, Edingra, Akata. They're going to be cheaper when we get into pricing, and those odds are not terrible for them. There's my boy Diouf right there, plus 220. That's pretty good for a left back, especially. Brighton and Fulham. I don't even know who Stefano Zimas is, but he's the top guy. Or a Charlampos Costulas. No clue what either of those guys are, so I'm going to ignore them. We'll see if Welbeck starts. He is not in projected, I believe. No, he's not. Like the first starter, projected starter, is Reuter plus 120. I got like a bunch of the Brighton guys in kind of similar spots. Matt O'Reilly plus 130. Moron, who's not going to play, plus 130. But as you can see, like everyone's kind of bunched together here on both teams. I think it's going to be pretty even. Even though Brighton are minus 120, you'll see here that like both teams' scores pretty high, goal totals pretty high. So it wouldn't surprise me if this game isn't pretty end to end, and odds reflect that. Now let's go into our pricing here. It is a really nice flagship main GPP contest here that I'm in right now. Just look at pricing, but you should have tickets for that if you've been playing any of the satellites over the summer. So make sure to use those if you haven't yet. And now let's get into the pricing. Bowen, 12K. This is an expensive spot for him. But look at his numbers at the end of last season. So consistent, so solid. Goals in 4 straight down the stretch there. Sometimes a good matchup here. I could see Bowen being pretty popular despite this price. Pretty solid matchup. Like people are going to. I worry a lot about these newly promoted teams. Sunderland, I think, is probably your best looking of them, just in terms of like the signings they've made, like Shaka. Like this whole midfield three, like is all new signings. Edingra too. They're solid players, but like we're seeing like a worrying gap between the newly promoted teams, like the already established Premier League teams, and that's kind of worrying here. So, like West Ham, despite not having the best season last season, like this is still a good spot for them. Bowen, like I don't mind him at all. But Charleston, I think 11K, it's a little bit pricey. I worry a little bit about his floor too. On top of that, I don't love that as a play, but for GPP, sure. Brendan Johnson feels pricey as well. Welbeck 9600, pricey, non-projected. Hell, man, he was so cheap at times last season. Like, let's look at his prices here. Like, he was like a 5K player, 6K player. Now he's 9K. That is so much. He's taken a few corners as well in preseason, so he's tempting from that aspect. And once again, like, there's some pretty pricey options up here. Bowen's my favorite of these kind of like 9 to 12K guys. There's also like Minte, there's a solid floor to him. I don't mind that. Solanke, if he could somehow get healthy, what are they saying about him? He was on the bench in the Super Cup against PSG. It's like there's a chance that he starts. I think at that price, that could be pretty tempting. Like him being 3K, 4K cheaper than Richarlison is wild. I don't agree with that at all. Solanke's definitely a better striker than him. Like if we see Solanke, it's definitely a discount compared to some of these other Tottenham attackers. There's like Kustos guy. I don't think he'll start. Raul Jimenez at 6,700. I don't mind that as GPP play. Like I said, this Brighton game could have goals in it. He is the main striker. Look at the consistent 90-minute performances from him too. Like I like a Raul Jimenez play here for GPP. For cash, you probably want a little bit more floor than that though. Other guys I'm looking for here, like I don't think there's much of a option in this mid-range. There's Colby who might start at Sunderland. He's probably who starts if they bench Liffey. That's not a crazy option. However, there's going to be cheaper kind of Sunderland options as we go down, as well as some other game guys. like an Odo Bear, who if he starts on the wing, non-projected, but like he's half the price of your Brendan Johnson. And I think they're pretty interchangeable guys. So like I like a cheat an Odo Bear if he starts Mayenda, who is Sunderland's main striker. He's probably what they need to kind of strengthen on the most. Like he was an okay striker in the championship, didn't do anything crazy. Like I worry about his production at this level. And then they got Broya, right? Broya's signed. I don't even know if he's not, I don't think he's in the player pool yet because DK put these prices out so early. We're gonna miss a few new signings here. I doubt he starts right away anyway. But yeah, I just don't have a ton of faith in Mayenda. Maybe he'll have some GPP anyway, just because we know West Ham was not the greatest last season. But he's not my favorite of these punts. Edingra, on the other hand, put up a solid floor when he was playing at Brighton here. Didn't have a ton of minutes, but look at his production in those minutes. He was averaging more than a point every 10, which is kind of like a benchmark I kind of set for floor. Like if you're getting 1 point every 10 minutes, you're getting 9 floor, which is like just solid numbers here. Add a goal contribution on top of that, suddenly on 15, 20 points. So yeah, I really like that from an Edinburgh. I think he's super solid. I love him as a player. I think someone could be a really good fit for him. He should have plenty of minutes, which he kind of lacked at Brighton, as we see from these sub performances and early sub performances. But yeah, like I love Ingra. I think 4,300 is kind of a steal here. I don't mind the West Ham matchup. Like, I think it's a solid option down here. And then they've got like these Burnley guys, Anthony and where's the other one? Anthony and I'm looking for Edwards. Did I miss him? Yeah, Edwards 3,700. Two Burnley wingers are super cheap. I could see that getting some ownership because people are just going to assume that they take. Both of them took set pieces for Burnley in the championship. And who knows? I could be wrong. They could have been just chest testing out in preseason some different combos and then just go right back to Anthony and Edwards. And that would suck for me because I'm going to have some of one of the set piece takers when we get down to him. But if he doesn't take, that'd suck. And like these Burnley forwards are cheap enough. They can be like, I don't care if they don't have set pieces. We've seen Tottenham be super leaky under Postecoglou. I know they have Frank now, but he's not going to turn them around that quickly, I think. So there's reason to get behind these Burnley attackers, even if you don't think that they're going to have sets. So like Anthony, Edwards, I don't think they're awful plays. I just think they're going to be a little bit over-owned, considering what I think their role is going to be, which is just setless wingers. Midfielders now, let's get to it. There's Madison, who of course is out for the year likely. Sad to see that. Mitoma at 10K feels a little bit pricey to me. Once again, this is a guy who's just randomly been priced up. He was not near this much. Throughout the whole of last season, he was not above 8K. And now he's 10. That is too much for me. Maybe I'll have a sprinkle in GVP, but I think that's too expensive. Harry Wilson, once again, he's another guy who feels a little bit more priced up. Actually, he was kind of just that much at the end of last season, which is fair. He's putting up super solid numbers. I don't mind a Harry Wilson play. I'd much rather him than like a setless Mitoma. But once again, that's a little bit expensive. However, I don't mind that play, like I said. Who does it 8,100? I love this as a play. I think it's going to be super solid. Look at his numbers for West Ham. Just absolutely just solid, rock solid. And you're so cheap too, which he's not anymore. But I think he's worth the price bump nonetheless. Just 10s, 15s. He gets 4. And these were all without set pieces, remember. Now he's in Tottenham, who are going to have more possession than West Ham will. I know they have Frank as their manager. He's not a super possession-based manager. Nonetheless, they're playing Burnley. I think Burnley are going to bunker likely. Kind of probably go back to Dyche ball Burnley. They were super solid defensively in the championship, I know. But like, Premier League's a different level. I worry for them. I think they could finish bottom. I think they're likely to finish bottom. That's my prediction there for where they finish. So yeah, I love the matchup here. Kudus, just awesome player. I think he's gonna get a lot more goal contributions now he's at Tottenham. Like I see nothing wrong with this at 8K. He might even be a core play. We'll talk about it after we go through prices per position. But yeah, Kudus, I think is a solid option on a slate like this. With fee at 6,900, I think it's a little bit pricey. I wish he was more like 5K because I think there's a chance that he splits with a Shaka, which is wildly seen. Like Shaka has not taken sets in 4, 5, 6 years. But yeah, nonetheless, we've been taking pieces. They've been going in swingers. He's like the only lefty on this team, besides Reynoldre, who's never taken a set piece in his life. But I worry about Liffey splitting, like I said. And at 6,900, that feels a little bit pricey considering we got guys like Kudus who are only 1K more. Pereira, if he starts for 700 cheaper. Ward Prowse at 5,500. I think they're just options that I would just go to over Lafie. Saying that, I still will have some. Like, I really liked him in the championship. I thought he was super solid. It's yet to be seen whether he can kind of do it at the Premier League level. But Lafie's not a bad little player. Like, I like him. But like I said, 900 is slightly on the pricier side for me. Now, Ward Prowse, he's going to be just Mr. Popular in cash just because he puts up solid numbers. He takes corners, maybe on pens, takes free kicks if nothing else, and just finds a way to get there a lot of the time. And against a Sunderland team who, like I said, we worry for a little bit for the promoted teams. Like, I see no issue with going against a team for Prowse. He's just Mr. Safe, Mr. Reliable. 500 is a fair price too. He's going to be so popular in cash. I'll probably have him in my cash core just because, like, he's just a little security blanket of a player. And he makes a lot of sense here. At O'Reilly 5K. I really like this. Like I said, I think this Brighton game could be like 3-3. Wouldn't surprise me at all. He was showing a lot more at the end of last season, more than he has at the start, where he kind of barely played. Got that injury right away, you have to remember. But he's putting up solid numbers here. I like Brighton still as a team. They don't have Europe this year to worry about either. So Matt O'Reilly, I just like him. I think he's a super solid player. Takes set pieces. 5K is a good price. I like this matchup against Fulham. Give me a ton of him as well. And then Ayari at 4K. I like him a little bit less than Matt O'Reilly just because he's slightly less attacking. However, saying that he is a little bit safer for minutes. Should still have his guaranteed just side of set pieces. And he gets a goal contribution every now and then. But like I said, I kind of look for a little bit more upside. But there's nothing wrong with Ayari. Same with Shaka. They're both kind of similar players. Kind of defensive mid set piece taking types. Shaka's not guaranteed, I'd say, for sets either, is the issue there compared to an Ayari. But I'm not a huge fan of either, to be frank. Hakata 4K. No set pieces, but he takes pens sometimes. He might take over word prowess. They kind of mix and match. And he has a bit of a floor to him, similar to like a Kudus, where he just gets points. Foul draws, crosses, key passes. Not that many crosses, but a lot of key passes. Lots of like tackles. Just stuff that just gets him there. And at 4K, like he's got a lot more upside than a lot of the guys in this range. So I think he makes a lot of sense here. Cullen, another just set piece taking defensive mid likely. I don't love it just because I think there's enough upside for 1 to 2K more that I'm not gonna have too many of these like 4K just defensive mid set pieces. You need to have a little bit more than set pieces to get there in my eyes, especially in GPP. And then as we dumpster dive here, Lukic, sure, should take something. 3K is just he's cheaper than the other guys with a slightly better matchup. Like, sure, I don't mind a Lukic if you really need to go down to that range. And I'm kind of on the rest. It's pretty stacked midfield slate, though, I will say. Defenders, Poro, he will be my first guy in most of my builds. 7K is okay. I just won't let me look at the logs, I guess, anymore. But was super solid all of last season. I'm gonna try to reload the page and see if that fixes that. But Pedro Poro, like I said, was super solid last season. Took a ton of corners, got a ton of crosses, gets a ton of goal contributions as well. I know that 7K is getting a little bit pricey, but like I said, like his forward isn't crazy, but like he'll just have random games he just goes off, like this Nottingham Forest game, like this Man United game. He's a little bit corner dependent, I think is why that is the case. He's not a fullback who crosses a ton from open play, but they're playing Burnham. They're gonna have set pieces. I'm a super big fan of Pedro Porro's play. Like I think he's just worth it for that 7K price range here. Juan Bissaka was kind of solid at the end of last season. I think at 6K it's a little bit pricey. I didn't play a ton of him even when he was going on this kind of purple patch run. It's like this premium price. I'm not gonna have a ton. I'm gonna say it now. Trey Hume, if there's no Liffey, I could see it making sense. I wish he was a little bit cheaper. The Kuiper, if there's no Matt O'Reilly, maybe he has a pack of set pieces that way. I think can make a ton of sense. He's defensive, I'd say, at times, though, is the issue with him. He doesn't bomb forward too much typically for club. And he kind of is, and he kind of was pretty reliant on set pieces in the Belgium league for when he plays for Belgium too. But Like, I like Brighton. I don't mind the Kuiper. I like him as a player. Like I said, I just kind of wish he had set pieces. Due, 4,900. I love this as a play. One of my favorite players coming up right now. 4,900. It's a fair price. Sunderland matchup. He plays as a wingback, so he gets super far forward too. He's like 2K cheaper than Wan-Bissaka. Like, I have no issues here, or 1K cheaper than Wan-Bissaka. But like, I like the youth a lot. I think he's a super solid defender option. Other guys are kind of meh, like this whole mid, like 4K-ish range. Reynolds, bunch of center backs here. Tete, if he starts at 3K, makes some sense. I'll say that. Kyle Walker, look at that for Burnley. It's just so wild to see. Is he projected? He isn't projected. Jesus, it reminds me of like that picture of Rio Ferdinand at QPR. Just doesn't look right. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Just retire at that point. Emerson 2,900, I think, can make a ton of sense. I don't think he's in projected, of course, because of the Diouf signing. But if he starts over Diouf, sure. Then Quentin Hartman, 2,800. I'm gonna be super tempted by that. That is a ton of savings here. He looked super good in preseason. I will say. He was super good for Feyenoord, of course, as well. Super attacking fullback here. They're going to use him in a back four, unfortunately, but he's playing like Kyle Walker on the other side of him. Kyle Walker's not going to bomb forward. Hartman will. Like, I think it's a really good option. I'm not that afraid of Tottenham yet. I think Frank's going to take a little bit to get them going. And even when he does, like I said, Frank is not a manager who dominates games. Brentford, like they play direct. They kind of let the other team have possession at times. And then that should give chances for Hartman to get forward. And like I said, he should take set pieces. He gets forward. I think it's a super tempting value play here. And there's also like center backs. I always say if you're gonna play center back, try to pair him with a set piece taker. He's had more of a GBP build. Try to kind of play for your center back scoring a goal off of a corner from another guy you play. That's all I have to say really about that. I would kind of avoid those kind of plays in cash just because there's no floor there, but they can just pay off that price instantly with a goal, which of course is unlikely, but if it happens, you're in the money. Goalkeepers. Goalkeeper is the most volatile position in DFS. Like, I don't have a ton of edge here, frankly. Just kind of play whoever fits the rest of your build. I would say for GPP, try to kind of script it potentially, although it works more for Showdown than Classic. But like if I'm playing like a bunch of like two goal dependent, let's say Burnley attacks, so I'm gonna go both the Burnley wingers in my build. I'm probably not gonna go Vicario because those Burnley wingers probably need a goal contribution to get there. You know what that does? That screws your super expensive pay at goalkeeper that you just played. So like I just don't think that makes a ton of sense from like a game script perspective. Like just kind of have that in mind when you're doing your builds for GPP, especially. However, if you want to play like a punt goalkeeper, you have to have these like kind of ideas of how the game will go in your mind. You might be able to get away with like your Tottenham attackers with that because Tottenham are going to have more shots than Burnley. I'm going to say that now. And so your Burnley goalkeeper, even if they lose like 1-0, say, maybe Dubravka makes 5, 6, 7 saves there, gives up 2 goals. That's like 10 points. That pays off their price right there. And if there's a ton of goals in the other games, maybe like no clean sheets, then that Burnley goalkeeper could end up the highest scoring keeper, as well as your Tottenham goal forward, say you play against him, gets a goal, so then they both get there. That's so much less likely to happen in just with if you're playing the Tottenham goalkeeper though. So just have that kind of scenario in mind when you're doing your builds. But yeah, that's my spiel on goalkeepers here. For a core now. Poro, of course, is the first man in. I'm super tempted to put Akudas, but I'm actually going to go Matt O'Reilly. I feel a bit controversial, but I like him being cheaper than more perhaps and he has a little bit more upside. Like he's looked good in preseason, had a goal the other game where I was watching the highlights of at 5K. I think 500 cheaper than Ward Prowse. Give me Matt O'Reilly. And then I am going to go Ward Prowse after that. I'm not putting Kudas in my core as much as I like him. This affords you a little bit more with the rest of your build. Some of these forwards are pretty expensive. This lets you prioritize getting to a Bowen here if you want to. That's plenty of salary to work with. You can still go to a Kudas in utility, which I'm saying I probably likely do that kind of start to my build in cash. But yeah, like those three options are super solid. Kudas really good too. Bowen's and super popular as well. All super solid options here. There's just a few guys I like. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you are new around here to the FSI channel. If you're interested in more stuff from me for like the smaller slates, core after we get confirmed lineups, make sure to check out the FSI Discord through the website link below. But yeah, that'll be it, guys. Good to be back, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.